sir, for showcasing the business plan, the strategies for individuals, organizations, and chaos, changes in chaos. Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah, next, please proceed.
Now, I cordially invite our next speaker, Mr. Aniruddha Khadkar, Consultant Analyst, India. Let me introduce him. Sir of rich multidisciplinary professional experiences in sales and process analysis. Since for showcasing the business plan, the strategies for individuals, organizations, and chaos, changes in chaos. Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah, next, please proceed.
Now, I cordially invite our next speaker, Mr. Aniruddha Khadkar, Consultant Analyst, India. Let me introduce him. Sir of rich multidisciplinary professional experiences in sales and process analysis. Since 2000, process analysis of printing defects on non-paper substances in shrinking wrappers, process of 3D printing of ECDM tools, cladding of dissimilar materials, and so on. So the topic the sir is going to speak is on role of statistics in research. So I welcome you, sir, to share your experience with us.
Thank you. Can everybody hear me? Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you're audible and your presentation is also visible.
Right. Okay. Thank you. I will keep my video off because I am residing in shadow zone. Even playing YouTube is a slightly difficult task, so it's better that I do not start the video.
No issue, sir.
Okay. I will thank you, college, for giving me opportunity to present on the role of statistics. I thank you, Mr. Bakshi, for mentioning importance of statistics, and what he said is correct, that diversification from core competency and one page business plan are the strength for future, better future. Statistics is a pretty old subject. Statistics for research is also a very good topic, which is almost 100-year-old. The first book was written almost same time, 1920 by, or maybe 10 years after that, by Dr. Fisher. So here research is about unfolding the mystery of what is going inside, what is happening, and mystery about how to control the input parameters to achieve a desired output. So here investigator, a researcher, draws a sample from a population to derive a conclusion about his hunch or his hypothesis. What is mean by population is, say for example, some matrix is there which is continuously generated, and in unfolding mystery is made very simple by statistics. Statistics is not a study of individual values, it is a study of averages, or it's a study of proportion. I will give a simple example that, say for example, right now we are facing a pandemic, we are going through a pandemic, and death rates are always published in a newspaper, published in a on media, various kind of media. Every time only deaths are spoken, that so many number of deaths are happening in this country. Right now US is having a big problem of having highest number of death. If you consider as an individual figure death, then definitely it alarms, it gives something different alarm to our mind. But if you convert into proportion, some simple statistics is applied, that number of death per million population, per million person in that country, you will immediately come to know that US is not having that grave situation. It is in a middle space situation. India is below situation. Our death per population, per million populations are quite less in comparison to US. US is also quite less in comparison to Arabian countries. So that ends the research by well-defined model. What is mean by model in terms of research? I will say that it's a model is an abstraction of thoughts of investigator expressed as y is equal to f of x, where y is a objective or number of objective of the research, where f, small f, is a process or processes of achieving the objective. Why I am saying multiple processes? Because sometimes what happens that same objective can be achieved by multiple processes, and you want to identify which process is giving you in less effort or maybe in less time or less money, where capital X are the inputs to the process. So it can be a simple scenario where there is only one Y and multiple X. It can be a very simple scenario, only one Y, only one X. It can be a complex scenario, multiple Y, multiple process, multiple X. These all situations can be handled very well by using some simple statistics, and that will give us a hands-on experience to achieve our results. So here in modeling, one thing we should not forget, the practical as well as technical relevance of an investigation must reflect in an abstraction. Only statistical or mathematical relevance may fit a wrong model to a right data. So in modeling, we should not forget about the practical relevance of an investigation. The risk which we have to cover in our project, the risk which we are going to consider here are the risk of finding difference when there really isn't one, the risk of not finding the difference when there is a really one. These are called as alpha and beta risk, where alpha is a probability of type 1 error, that is rejecting a correct decision. Beta is a probability of type 2 error, that is accepting a incorrect decision. Here we always, in terms of statistics, we always speak that we take decisions or we propose some decisions based on some confidence. Usually this confidence is 95% and alpha risk is 5%, so total is 100%. These risks are unavoidable. The risk of alpha risk is, that is rejecting a good correct decision, is also unavoidable. But we always try to minimize it. We try to restrict it to as high as possible, 5%, only 5%. We try to minimize it so that our confidence is 95%. At the same time, there is another risk which is called as a beta, that is accepting an incorrect decision. We will restrict it to maximum 10%, so that power of the test or power of the project or the risk will be, the power will be 90%, total will be 100%. This is about talking about the risk which we are going to handle in a research. The next is how statistics is a handy tool, is that statistics help us to identify the explanation what is going inside in the process. At the same time, we can go for prediction of the process. We can validate the process. The findings which we are going to do must be replicable in all situations. It must be verifiable. It must be accurate. And in all, we are controlling the complete research process, where we are trying to control input factors by using some process to achieve some Y. So this is, statistics is a handy tool to anchor the project, where we can go smoothly for findings. These are the topics which I am saying, that is initial studies in a research relating with the past papers, where past paper helps to get the vast information about topic, mainly what is done and what is not done. Selection of input factors, process and output factors are highly influenced by past paper. Investigator always go through the past paper and create an abstract of past papers to define their process input factors and output factors and levels of the input factors. Meta-analysis is another statistical tool which collates the complete information which is available on the with the statistical papers. The data can be collated to form a new decisions, where new experimentation is not required. Only past data is collected and valid conclusions are drawn. Usually meta-analysis is very useful in pharmaceutical field or a medical field, where whatever old medicines are there, their properties and their usage are collated to identify use of a medicine in a new disease. Say for example, for corona, there are 2-3 medicines are there which are existing for almost 10 years and or more than 10 years, and scientists are trying to utilize these medicines for a new virus like corona. In initial studies, we cannot ignore the science and the basic theory. We have to stick to basic sciences, we have to stick to basic theories. Sometimes a breakthrough or sometimes a new concepts are brought. Whenever these such kind of concepts are brought, usually measurement systems are enough sensitive to detect the change in your Y, and a science is changed or a basic theory is changed. Say for example, there is a very good innovation about, I will say, Higgs boson were identified in large collidotron, where they had improved the sensitivity of their collidotron to detect certain kind of particles, the speed of certain kind of particles. Or there is a second example where, so here whenever a topic is researched, usually a data is collected. Data is a very important tool to draw a conclusion. The data is collected by two ways. Either it by experimentation, where investigator earns some hands-on experience and then he puts his findings, or he conducts a survey. He conducts a survey on internet, he talks to people, he collects the data. The data is put in the format, in a very simple format, y is equal to f of x, where purpose of this study is study the variation in output by controlling the input. In experimentation, usually the inputs are varied in such a fashion that you will monitor the input, you will monitor the process, and you will monitor the output parameters. Or in surveying, usually the effect of stimulus on stimulant is studied. Say for example, right now the stimulus is provided by Indian government to MSME, so that MSME, that is stimulant, will survive, or that will strive, or that will flourish. In experimentation, as such, experimentation is a slightly big topic, but I will tell the certain tools which are very important in experimentation. One is randomization, another is blocking, then repetition, replication, and the resolution of your experimentation. These are the important tools. These are the important tools in experimentation. The experimentation usually is carried out at different level. It's a iterative method where planning of a experimentation, doing of a experimentation, checking of a experimentation, and once again ACT, that is PDCA. Here is analysis of variance, that is ANOVA. Usually this analysis of variance of means, the word which are written in red of means are usually hidden. So here within variance and between variances are identified. As words are indicating between variance, means if a particular level is used, then variation because of one only level should be as less as possible, which is called as a within variance. This ANOVA help us to identify vital few and trivial many input parameters, or at the same time output parameters also can be identified, which are very important and which are least important. The contribution of input factors in total variation of a process is directly seen, which I call is the insight of the process, by this tool, analysis of variance of means, where at the end of ANOVA table you will see that which factors are significantly contributing in variation, which are called as significant factor. Whenever the p value in ANOVA is less than 0.05, that is the alpha value rejecting of good, then it is called as a significant factor. Now this analysis of variance of means also help us to identify how our model is fitting, where the R square explains the variation by input factor selected by investigator. The R square figure usually is said to be as higher as better. Sometimes what happens that, say for example, you are having 5 input parameters which you had identified as a crucial parameters to have some variation in your y, and by and large when we are saying 5 parameters and how much variation or how much contribution by each factor should be, we can straight away calculate 100 divided by 5 is 20%. If you identify a factor, only one factor, which is explaining almost 25%, and that is your R square, then that is a very good situation. On the other hand, even if you are, we have to go for once again plan, do, see, plan, do, check and act, that is PDCA cycle. R square predicted is a probability of same results if same exercise is repeated. That is a sort of verification that if you repeat the same exercise, what is the probability that you will get the same results. The 5 tools in DOE are important to estimate unexplained variation, that is error. What is unexplained variation? Say for example, your R square is 80%. So 20% you are not 20% of variation you are not able to assign to any reason, which is called as an unexplained variation. If your unexplained variation is not properly estimated, then your complete experimentation may go wrong. So here we have to use the 5 tools which are explained in previous slide, that is randomization, blocking, resolution, replication and repetition to estimate your error. Complete study revolves around estimation of errors. Whether you are following a experimentation, whether you are following a surveying, whether you are following analytical tools, modern analytical tool or modern advanced tools, estimation of error is extremely important in research. Well explained error, well estimated error will always give you a highly reliable results. So the next is prediction. This is a very important thing, that we always want to identify such crucial parameters, input parameters, which will help us to predict the future. That is, if you give the input, if you put the values of input factors, input levels, then you should be able to predict the output. There are 4 methods which are available for prediction or to estimate the equation. First is age-old method, which is called as a least square method. This is almost 300-year-old method where sometimes what happens that your number of input factors are correlated to each other. At that time, you will the least square method may not give you a reliable result. You will always reliable estimates. Second situation is number of input factors are more than data. This happens when you are doing things which are based on surveying, that number of input factors are more than the data. Say you had collected a data for 300 parameters and you are able to talk to only 200 people or organization. So in that case, partial least square method will give you to estimate all factors. Second thing is that when you are changing your type of output, when you are having a output of nominal category or ordinal category, that is half is not meaningful is a nominal. That is, say for example, test, a classification. There we are using a logistic regression method to estimate the coefficients of input parameters. Sometimes the abstraction need multiplicative model, that is y is equal to x1 into x2 divided by x3 instead of additive model. All models which I had discussed, that least square method, partial least square method, logistic regression, these are the additive model, where if there are only 3 input parameters, the equation will be y is equal to beta naught plus beta 1 into x1 plus beta 2 into x2 plus beta 3 into x3. This is called as an additive model, where you are adding the effects of all factors to get variation of your y. So here, when we had formed a regression equation which is helpful for our prediction, we always say that only non-zero coefficient in the equations are useful to predict. So we have seen what is the use of statistics. You can design your experiments by using 5 principles. You can analyze your experiment by using ANOVA. You can identify vital few and trivial many. What is a contribution? What is a variation? Explain R square adjusted, R square predicted. And here we can identify which are the non-zero coefficients in the equation. What is mean by non-zero coefficient? Everybody is aware of a relationship between two variables can be explained by a correlation coefficient R. I am taking a very simple example, 1x and 1y. So there can be a positive relationship, that is when x is increasing, y is also increasing. There can be a negative correlationship when x is increasing, y is decreasing, or when x is increasing, there is no change in y, or you are getting a constant y. That is third situation. And fourth situation is that there is no relationship between x and y. Here the relationship I mean by linear relationship. So whenever you are having positive slope or negative slope, your coefficient is non-zero. But the third situation where I said that for each value of x you are getting same y, when your line is almost horizontal to x-axis, this situation is your coefficient is zero, that is slope of your line is zero. This situation we don't want. We want to eliminate the factors which are not important from ANOVA. We want to eliminate the coefficients which are not important from the regression equation or prediction regression equation, so that our prediction is accurate, our prediction is correct, our prediction will help us to peep into the future. Now whatever model we had developed, we need to validate this model. Without this validation, our experimentation, our research is incomplete. So there are prerequisites to estimate the coefficient that must be satisfied. There are three prerequisites. One is all input factors are independent of each other, means they are not correlated to each other. Our all y are independent. Here I am not putting plural, because all y in the sense you are having a 1y, then and you are having 12 instances or 16 instances, then first instance of first y is not related to the second instance of first y. That is mean by y are independent, and variance of input factor is equal, means all are equivariance. If these prerequisites are satisfied, then and then your model is valid model. Actually, by direct calculation, this cannot be identified. So there is an indirect method which is called as a residual analysis. Residual is observed minus predicted. And if these residuals are distributed normally, if they are forming a normal distribution, and the residual against fitted are randomly distributed against 0, then we say that your model is validated. If your R square is good, if your model is validated, then we say that whatever you had established, whatever is a good model. Here the residual against fitted randomly distributed against 0, there are 2-3 patterns are there. I will not go into detail at this stage, but if there is a particular pattern, then we can say that the variance is not equal. If there is a particular pattern, then we say that the y's are not independent of each other. So these things can be seen just by doing a residual analysis, which is an indirect method to validate your model. Now comes the stage of verification. You need to verify your model. These are the important stages of your research. These are the important stages of developing a model. In this stage, you have to conduct a small set of experiment to verification of finding by using the identified input factor levels. Please note, you have to perform a experimentation once again by identifying important input factors or valid input factors with specified levels only. You need not to repeat a complete experimentation. Compare the predicted values with experimental values. Means whatever you had predicted with help of regression equation, you can verify it with the experimental values. Use appropriate alpha and beta risk to test the hypothesis in verification test phase also. Hypothesis testing is used in ANOVA as well as it is used in verification, but the alpha risk and beta risk may vary. In case of ANOVA, whenever you are doing, If your process is well defined, you are not making change in your process, you are just making changes in your input factors, then your alpha risk can 5% is also sufficient. But if you are trying to identify a new process, new input parameters, then your alpha risk can be higher. It can be 10% or 15% in some situation. Beta risk, it depends on sample size. Alpha risk is always a investigator's decision. In verification phase as well as in experimentation phase, you have to be very specific about alpha and beta risk. And now your verification is complete. Next phase is accuracy of your model, what you had developed. So here a famous tool, a simple tool is used, that plot graph of predicted values versus observed the y, then you will form a regression equation. Out of these input parameters, you will select the important parameters, significant parameters. You will identify the significant level, and for that only you need to check the model accuracy. Accuracy can be measured with various types of error, that is mean absolute percentage error, squared error, root mean square error, and absolute error. These are the different kinds of error which we can analyze statistically, means by using some statistical tool or by using the graphical tool. Now I will take another 4 or 5 minutes. These are the predictive analytical tools which are very becoming popular nowadays. One is ANN, automated neural network, genetic algorithm, support vector machine, random forest, cluster k-mean, cluster variable, discriminant analysis, structural equation modeling, 4-color problem. More than 50 algorithms are available. If you will search on Google, you will get more than 50 algorithms. Actually here, the tools, automated neural network is an excellent prediction tool, no doubt about it. When we are using these tools, the advantages are there are no assumptions. All input factors are independent of each other. All y are independent. The variance in input factors are equal. These assumptions are not required. All data types can be accommodated. Continuous, discrete, nominal, ordinal, all data type can be accommodated. It delivers a good generalization of a problem, but it needs large amount of data. These are the disadvantages. Must cover every corner of variation of input factors, otherwise you will not get the generalization. Foundation of vector and vector mathematics helps to understand in a better way. The model evaluation is slightly different than the regression. It confusion matrix, gain and lift chart, Kolmogorov-Smirnov chart, area under receiver operating characteristics, Gini coefficient, concordant discordant ratio, and root mean square error. These are the 7 parameters which are used for model evaluation when we are using the predictive analytical tools. But still your path, PDCA, plan, do, check, act, it remains same in case of these tools also. Yes, I know this is a very brief overview of research. Now, shall I say that it's over to Patil ma'am?
Yes, sir.
Right. So I'm unsharing it. Over to Patil ma'am.
Okay, sir. So now I request Dr. Malti ma'am to summarize this session.
Thank you, Sonam ma'am. First of all, I would like to thank Mr. Aniruddha for giving a very, very good idea about the role of statistics in research. You have started right from the beginning till the end. In fact, I was just listening to your speech very meticulously. You have started with the meta-analysis And like the way in which you are giving the inputs to the researchers, it's really wonderful. You are given very clear-cut instructions to them that how they are supposed to do the data collection. The data collection can be done either by experimentation or by surveying. And also you have mentioned about some 5 tools of experimentation. After collecting the data, how to do the analysis, that's very, very important as far as a researcher is concerned. And you have mentioned something else about ANOVA, analysis of variance of means, and through that ANOVA, we can be able to find out how our model can be fit into. So a complete analysis should revolve around the estimation of errors. So through this statistical analysis, we can be able to come to the conclusion whether whatever mathematical model we have put in, whether it is fitting into the study or not. And after the analysis, we have to predict the results also. And you also mentioned in your speech something else about the principal component analysis, which every researcher is nowadays using to estimate the output by comparing the two comparable inputs. So and also you mentioned about something else about the only non-zero coefficient or not. So after verification of the model, we have to do the accuracy of our model also. So the way in which you have projected your idea in front of all the researchers, faculty members and the participants is extremely good. You have started right from the collection of data till the analysis